This is the Farming Sims, and I'm on East Vineland, New Jersey, USA, mapped by Mac Trucker 921. I'd like to welcome you to the Farmers of Angevin. I've said that so many times. The Farmers of Vineland dedicated server. We've moved from Angevin to Vineland, and we're starting a new challenge. It's called the Supplychaincrisis challenge. It can be done on East Vineland, but it also can be done on East North Carolina, USA, also by Mac Trucker 921. It's a multiplayer series, so it's a multiplayer challenge. I've created 2 farms already when I came into the game, and they are listed as the player's farm, which we've named Farmers of Vineland, and the township. It's because it's a multiplayer challenge, it'll be a little bit more detailed than what a standard challenge is. So what I thought I would do is I'd make a video just going through the setup. Okay, so I've just logged in as an admin, and as an admin, you have the ability to do all of the game settings screen and to create the farms. So I've already created the farms, and I've already set the timescale to 0.5 times. And that's purely for August, for the setup time, and to play out August. But before August ends, we will change our days and speed to be 21 days per month at 3 times speed. Now that means that every week is a new month. A week real time is a month in-game time. The economy is set to hard. Traffic is set on. Seasons is on, like I said, with 21 days. We've got snow on. I don't expect snow to be too heavy in this area, but not like it was in Angevin. But I'm sure we will get some snowfalls. All of the crops and growth are on. And the other setting will be the trailer fill limit we had on in Angevin, but we've chosen to switch it to off this time around. And the fuel usage is set to high, and all AIs are off. A couple of other notes that are important here, and that is contracts are available, but you have to use your own equipment. You cannot borrow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving down to the store. Now I could jump to the store, which would be easier. So we'll go and have a look at the map. This is where the starting house is if you're in new farmer mode, and this is the start farm. But we've gone new farmer. Sorry, we've gone farm manager, and we're going to jump down to the vehicle store. That's a grain mill right next door. Okay. So contracts, yes, but with your own equipment. Leasing, yes, but it has to be a 12-month contract. Now, I'll come back to that later, why it's a 12-month contract, but you can lease. You just have to lease it from August to August. Loans, no loans in the game. The banks are basically shut down. Field flipping, no, you're not allowed to sell your land. Once you buy your land, keep your land. Buypoint fuel containers, that would be fuel tanks and diesel tanks. Every single one of them in the game can be, they're basically a buy point. Even though they're containers, they're also buy points. So no buy points in the game, and therefore no buy points of fuel, because fuel is at a real critical situation in the supply chain. We have a real lack of fuel, which will become very clear in a minute. Precision farming is optional. We're going to start with really old equipment. Small, we're going to be starting small and old. So precision farming doesn't really fit in with our game start. But if you want to start with precision farming, no problems at all. Now, there are some mods that you need for startup, and the first one I'd like to point out is a Placeable Objects Pack. And one of the very first things you need to do is to shut this fuel station down. And one of the main reasons why Mack Truckers maps have been picked is they don't have a standalone fuel, a gas station. A fuel point is just this fuel point that's directly in front of me now. There are some other mods that are needed to really get you through this challenge. They're not totally necessary, but without them, you could have a little bit of trouble. So, for example, there's the water and diesel IBC, and that'll let you buy diesel right at the beginning. We're using the Hobo Farmhouse pack for a sleep trigger. You could use any sleep trigger you liked. So some production mods that are allowed in this obviously would be diesel production, seed production, fertilizer production, pig food production, and maybe Omatama's farm supplies production. That would be a good one to give you an all-round farm supplies production pack. Some sell points. Look, you can put a couple of sell points in to enhance the map. We're going to go with the Mia Family Restaurant and the Wholesale, and we'll put them in shortly. Mods that we're not going to use other modded productions. We're going to run with an actual list of productions, keep out a whole heap of production which are somewhat broken. We're going to try and keep it as realistic as possible. We're not going to go with any crazy sell points. We're not going to use any auto loads. We're not going to use any buy anything mods, so any buy points or fuel containers. We're not going to use fixed pricing. We're going to have the pricing flow, and we're not going to use any of the money increasing signs. So for a realism point of view, we're going to go with realism, but that would be up to the players. If you ever wanted to run this challenge. And the supply chain crisis is really going to give us some restrictions that we have to look at the game in a very different way. So the story is that the global supply chain crisis is about to become critical. You can buy equipment and supplies, including diesel, in this first month of August, and then each August each year after that. You'll need to plan your purchases accordingly. You will need to really think about what you need for a 1 year cycle. You can also lease during that 1 year. So I already mentioned you can lease now in August through to next year's August, but you have to run the lease over a 12-month contract. Second-hand equipment can be purchased from other farmers at any time. So all of the second-hand store, you can go in there and take advantage of farmers selling their second-hand goods, okay? Now, to set up for the multiplayer part of the challenge is what I'm doing right now. So the guys can come in around about an hour and we're going to get started. One of the biggest downfalls of a dedicated server is there is no save and go back. So what I do now is permanent. Like we have to restart the entire server. And that's actually possible today. But once we kick off today, that's it. There's no going backs. So placing stuff live and making major changes to a map live on a dedicated server can be a little bit hairy. So I am a little bit nervous. I got players wanting to start parties with me because they see I'm on and they think we are almost ready to go. Everyone's eager to play. So we're playing with all of the players as a cooperative on the main farm of the Farmers of Vineland account. And but you could choose to play all of the players on separate farms if you like, which would make it a hell of a lot easier because you would have essentially $1.5 million each farm to get started with. That's kind of easy mode. We're going to start with the $1.5 million, and all of us on the single farm. Okay, if there's any noise in the background, this is live. I've got to start this up now. The map has gone live. I can't do this later on or do other edits. So whatever we get here on this video is what we got. All right. So the first steps are to purchase some land. So I'm on the township, and the store, which is 221, it's worth 0. You buy it for 0. And there are two buy points on the map. Now, a lot of maps will have buy points on them. That's 215, and one right up the top here, the north buy point, is right here at 223. Now, in my document that I have in front of me here, I've also listed for North Carolina where but it's basically the same type of setup where those fields are that you need to purchase, and they are 0. Now what I have to do is, now that I own the land, I need to construct some barriers around this fuel point so it can't be used. Now, this isn't really necessary. All the guys that we're playing with, we've played together already for a year, and we know each other really well, and I don't for 1 minute think that any of them would come down here and just fill up. Now, mind you, you may have players in your group which are new players that you don't necessarily know, and therefore it might be important to do what I'm doing right now. So even though we don't really need to do this, I do like the idea of just shutting it down so that it's not even an option. So this is the best way I've discovered to shut something like this down, and it's basically the signs. And it's not even in your face now. Now, if you could go with a second option, and if you don't mind looking at them, at the points in question, there are concrete barriers, and I thought they were in, but they seem to not be, which is disappointing. I thought they were in that same pack. Let me just double check quickly. There are some concrete barriers you can use to... No, I don't see them there. So essentially it would look something like this, and you could use something like this to go around. But there are some roadwork type concrete barriers which work really well. Okay, so now you can't actually fill up with fuel because you can't get in close enough to do the fuel. Second is the sell point. So what we'll do is we'll jump to this one here. Now, actually, I'll come back to this one because this one is outside the area that I can actually put a placeable down. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly jump to the other one and show the other one first. Okay, this one here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a sign on this one as well. Others... Okay, so what you'll find is you get this area that is up in the air around the pipe, but you can actually come out here, and by the way, you'll need to hit triangle for unrestricted placing. So as long as you cover the actual pipe itself, there's no way of filling from it. So what we'll do is we'll place it there. That looks pretty good. And we'll use, say, now that we don't have the concrete that I really wanted to use, you'll notice that, so there are areas where you can't put them down, but what I'll do is I'll just place this here. There we go. So you can't even get into that cell point now. Now, the biggest problem I have with this northern one is that here's a solar plant that's on the map. Another reason why we purchased, why we picked this map is it's got a source of power. What we want is decoration. Others, guess what? The bridge is probably not going to be in with that. That other pack is missing. Is the bridge missing as well? There's beeping in the background. Beeping in the background is the chicken incubator. All right. The idea is that you can't get any closer than this. That's as close as you can get. And there's a bridge that will go right across there and will provide a barrier along this edge here. What I'll do is I'll show a screenshot of it done on a previous test that I did, and I'll insert it here so you can see what it looks like. And I might throw in some images of North Carolina as well. So okay, that just bugged out. Sign's just vanished. That's not a good sign. But I did just jump halfway across the map. So effectively, we're almost finished here, the setup of the cell points. Next is the township needs to be looked after. We have added a survival element to the supply chain challenge, and we've added in a township survival challenge into our game as well. Now, this will require daily deductions as a mod, and you would have seen that a minute ago in the decorations list. And what you'll find is under daily deductions, the cost of running the township is $3,000 per month. And so what you need to do is place these three items down, and that represents $3,000 per month that's going to be deducted from the township every month. Now, the second thing we need to do is if you are playing in the easy mode with multiple farms, you need to add an extra $1,000 deduction for every farm. So if you're running in easy mode and you put 4 farms in, then you need to add an extra for $1,000 deductions. That's going to make you start off a lot more difficult in keeping the town alive, but you've got 4 farms to do it with, so it should still be very easy. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to buy, the township is now going to jump in and buy some productions on the map. And the productions that the town's going to buy need to be fed goods by the farm of players. I'm going to need my, no, I know where that one is. So I'm going to buy the bakery, okay? And I have to buy the land that the bakery is on. And the main reason for that is you actually have an option on this, on Mac Trucker's maps. You can buy the land and the production, and then it gives you the ability to demolish this. You can remove it from the map. Let me just quickly show you. Construction, landscape, demolish. It will now go. It will now actually, if I press this, it will ask me, are you sure? But it will delete it off the map, and you can place a different production on the map instead of that one. Okay. We were going to change some of them around, and in particular, I was going to replace the cereal factory here. Let me turn on the help. No, I don't want the help window on. I want the interactive markers. It's right here. So we'll buy the cereal factory. And what happens now is when the farmers put goods into the factory, it will produce the cereal. When the cereal is sold, that money will go to the township. And that's how the township will make an income, and it'll keep the township alive. If the township goes into negative, if it loses all of its money, it goes bankrupt, and the township survival challenge is a failure. Okay, let's get moving on a couple more productions here. Did I buy that land? That one there. Okay, so now I'm starting to spend some money. Now, you don't really need to buy the land with it. And that is the carpentry. So we'll jump to the carpentry, and we'll buy the carpentry and the sawmill. Now, the sawmill can't be sold. Well, I believe it can be sold, but it won't delete it. Sawmills and gas stations, I've never seen the ability to be able to delete them. The sawmill is, that's the animal yard up there. The sawmill is here, just across the road. So we'll buy the sawmill, and we will jump to it. There is also a biomass plant here as well. Yes, it's been purchased. Okay, couple more. I do want the spinnery. And we'll jump to that. Okay, the spinnery is here. And I'll grab the tailor while we're at it, which is down here. No, that's the dairy. Tailor is up here. Okay, so I've got two supply chains actually. I've got fabric into clothes for the town, so that the town can make clothes, and it can also make furniture. Okay, those two supply chains, slow, but will crunch out a few dollars for the township. Okay, so we have all of our product. Now, if we look at the map, I've got each of the productions that we purchased. We've also got the land for, and we've got the store, and we've got the bakery. Now, if we want a bakery, we can always put a bakery in. If we want to put in a spinnery, we could still put in a spinnery for ourselves, but this is just for the township. Now, essentially, we are basically done for the township, and so what I'll just quickly show you on the township screen is the production screen. You have to leave all the productions on. That way, it will just automatically produce, okay? Second is if you have them on storing, that would be the outgoing products, it will create pallets. Now, if you don't want to do a whole heap of pallet handling for the township, you could switch them to selling. It's going to sting, it's just going to sell whenever for whatever price. So there is going to be a nice loss of profit there. But if you want to handle the pallets yourself, then you just leave it as storing. For carpentry and the sawmill, what you want to do is if you want the planks to go to the furniture, you can set that to distributing. And the wood chips, they don't have anywhere to go. And you actually have to, they don't produce as pallets. You have to actually take them out of a wood chip zone. So let's just quickly jump. Now, because I haven't played on the map extensively, I did do a test run. Carpentry is here. This area here is the spawn point for pallets. And this is the drop point. So I'm not sure what happens with the wood chips. Mind you, I do know what happens with the wood chips over here, and that is the wood chips, you need to pick them up with a trailer here on this point here. So in getting wood chips is it's not that easy. I don't believe it's like pallets. I don't think you can access this from the farm players. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the wood chips off and tell it so that all the wood is going into planks and it's not actually going to produce any wood chips. So I'm going to turn the wood chips off, and I'm going to leave it as planks. I'm going to let it create planks, and if we want to manually move the planks over to the furniture, we can, but it won't process as planks, it'll just process as wood. But if we take planks over there, it needs to be on. So even though I'm not going to distribute the planks, I can, but I'm going to leave that option open. I don't mean that for this to sound too confusing. Fabric, we're going to produce wool with sheep, and I'm going to distribute the fabric straight to the clothes. So I want that one on distributing. You may want planks on distributing as well. And that's what I was trying to say before. And you probably want to switch wood chips off, just so that you're not producing wood chips that you can't really access unless you join the farm. Someone has to join the township, and we want to avoid that. That's not necessary in this setup. Everyone can drop goods in, and everyone can go and sell goods for the town, and the town will make money. Now, one of the questions people ask is how much do I get paid for dropping goods off into a township production? And the answer to that is nothing. This is a community service that we're to the township in a time of need for the town. They need to make money, okay? It's our civic duty to the town to prevent this crisis from getting to the point of the town being bankrupt. Now, we're basically going to be on a clock. I can tell you that the costs involved here will be $3,000 from the deductions and around about $500 per month in production costs with them all switched on. But we're going to have the added problem that the town is already in debt, and the town is going to be in debt for $500,000. Now, as players, you're not allowed to take loans. This is not a loan. The town was already in debt when the game starts. Okay. The last thing we need to do is we need to transfer funds. And the object here is to leave the township with $50,000. Now, I could go and buy more productions if I wanted to. I had the money to do that. But I don't want to buy all the productions because, you know, the farm wants a few for themselves, okay? So we'll want the dairy probably, and we'll want the grain mill and the oil mill. They're the main ones, I think. Maybe the grape processing as well that's on the map. But I don't want the township to own everything, okay? So we are going to transfer to the Farmers of Vineland 1,050,000 would leave them 59. So 1,060,000. So let's do it in chunks. Transfer to the farm $1 million. Yep. And now if I transfer to the farm another, sorry, 50, we'll leave it 59, so we'll go 60, and now the township has 49,989. That's close enough. The township can't have more than $50,000 to start. So let's just quickly review the steps that we took. It's much simpler than what it might sound on paper. The first thing we did is we created 2 farms, and we went to the township and we bought the store and the 2 buy points, one down here and one at the top here. We then covered those so that they can't be used. You cannot buy supplies on the map. You cannot buy fuel on the map. Okay? What we did was gave ourselves a $3,000 deduction every month, and that's the cost of running the township. Then we spent the rest of our money on some productions. So we bought the bakery, we bought the sawmill and carpentry, and we bought the spinnery and the tailor, and we bought the cereal factory. Now, I don't really like the cereal factory at this point. And what you could do is you could go and sell the cereal factory and put, say, another grain mill in or something like that. And the township actually has enough money to do that. So you could delete that and put a different production in. You really do need like base game productions, though. You need pallets to be spawned. It's no good having a production there that you need to fill a trailer from, because the players don't have access to fill points from the main farm. They do have access to pick up the pallets, go and sell them. When they sell them, the money goes to the township. Doesn't matter who sells the pallets are owned by the township. It's their product. Okay, so and once we did that, we transferred the remaining money to the main farm. Now, the main farm is going to have a little bit of extra money to get started with. And you will want a little bit extra money. The reason is you want to buy some land to get started. You need to build your own farm. we need enough equipment to, look after 6 to 8 players on this map. So we need a fair amount of equipment. That's why we're going with small stuff. So what we'll do is we will build on this farm here, and we will probably buy, there's pigs here and there's sheep here. And we'll probably buy this as our starting house. Now, I will make a separate video on how we set up our starting farm. But basically now the game is ready to go. The players can now jump in, we'll buy our land, we'll build our farm, we'll buy our products, buy our productions that we want, and then the hard job of buying our supplies for the year. We're going to need things like seed, we're going to need things like fuel. We are going to want to be self-sufficient to a certain degree, and I'll talk about that in the next video. Or we need to put plans in place to be self-sufficient, let's put it that way. I wanted to have this set up so that if you wanted to play a multiplayer challenge, that it's not difficult for you to set this up and then let all the players have a go at it, and then not have to be bouncing backwards and forwards between the township. And you can just play. You just play this, and you don't have to bounce in between the 2 farms. So at this point, I think I'll just go back to the finances screen. With the added loan interest that's going to come in every month, it would be important to get rid of the loan in the township. It would be important to keep goods flowing into the township's productions and sell them to stop them from going bankrupt. You've got about $2,000 in, about $1,600 in interest every month, plus $500 in production costs, plus the $3,000. You're looking at a $5,000 a month cost if it just sits there and does nothing. So you've got a timer, you've got a clock of around about 10 months. You at least need to get some funds into the township to stop them from going bankrupt, to get them at least through the first year. Then hopefully you'll have enough production running that they'll start actually making money. To win, to the end game here, to objective of the township challenge is to buy the power source. Now there is a power source on the map, and that will make life really easy then for the township to supply to survive. So for $420,000, there's a solar farm up there. So all we need to do is we need to work the loan down so we can afford the $420,000 price tag of the solar farm, and then all profits should go to buying houses. So once you start making a profit in the township, they can start purchasing blocks of lands with houses on them, and they're not cheap either. So this street here, we're talking about 266, 136, 157. So the amount of houses that the township owns will be a status symbol of how successful you were by the time that you complete the supply chain challenge. Now, the supply chain challenge will be completed when all productions on the map and all animals on the map are owned and that are producing. So all of the productions need to produce at some point, including the township productions, by the way. So you basically have to tick off that you own every production and that it's made something. I think the most difficult one there is probably the cereal. So if you want to play a little bit easier by not having to create cereal, it's got some stuff that in there that is a little bit more difficult than the others. That's probably an easy route for you to delete the cereal. An interesting part of North Carolina is it has a concrete production and stone quarry on the map, and that makes that one even more interesting, that you have to get that up and running as well. If you want to be totally crazy, we've got 6 to 8 players on this map, but only a single farm. We might have a difficulty owning the entire map, but we'll go for it. But I don't think that we can achieve that on this one in particular. North Carolina is a little bit easier, but New Jersey here, that's an $800,000 farm there. So the price of land on Vineland, New Jersey, is about double what it is on North Carolina. So if you choose the North Carolina map, owning the map is actually a target that you could actually achieve. But on this map, it's significantly harder. They're the main differences between the maps. So we need to get the BGA board and up and running. We need to get the cow farm. That's not cheap. The cow farm is $541,000 there. And we need to get all the productions running. So there's an oil mill over here. There's also grapes over here. Sugar down here. So there's a fair bit to do. One of the last things I'll leave you with is that with a multiplayer on the player's farm, it's a really good idea if you set up a farm boss each year, and it'll be their responsibility to make decisions like how much supplies we need and what equipment we're going to buy this year, and make decisions throughout the year, like buying fields, buying new productions, or even a target, to set a target. We would like to own the oil mill this year and get that up and running. We'll plant a whole heap of oil type crops and we'll get the oil mill running. So each year a new player can take on the role as farm boss, and it'll be their job to make critical decisions, not day-to-day decisions, but the big decisions, like each August, how much supplies. It'd be good to have a conversation about players' knowledge about how much we might need in seed-wise for how many fields we own. As that gets bigger, how much more we might need. You might need to be sparing. Depends on how much money you want to spend on land and equipment. There'll be a balance that you'll have to find there between land, equipment, and supplies. We're going to try and get seed up and running fairly quickly with the AGI pack, and create our own seed. And we're also going to do pig food manually to start with. None of us have done that before. Everyone just creates pig food and puts it into the piggery. We're going to do our own ratios, which will be a real challenge. We're also going to play as realistic as we can as a starting farm. So nothing too crazy. I think we're going to start with maybe as wide as 6 meters for most of our equipment, and nothing bigger than that. And I think that covers everything from a setup and a how to run this challenge. So this isn't really the farm setup video. This is the multiplayer town setup video, which lets you get ready to go and build your farm. So the next step is to go and build your farm, but you will also want someone to be kind of in control of some decisions, especially first year. The guys have picked me, lucky me, to be able to do it on the first year. So it'll be my choice, to my understanding of how much seed I need to buy, and so that we don't run out throughout the year, and some fuel to buy before we get the diesel production up and running. And we need to get started on these contracts. So We've also picked a map that's got a lot of fields, a lot of small contracts. It'll be great for our small equipment. But in this one, this is a huge baling contract on field 105. We're not allowed to use any of that equipment. So if we want to do baling jobs, then we have to have baling equipment right at the beginning. If we want to do potato contracts, we need potato equipment right at the beginning. So a tip for you, my tip of the day will be, so we put in a potato harvester that we're going to use, which is this guy here. I know, it's crazy. It's like one row. It does one row. But it only costs us $8,500. We could do small fields. Small fields of potatoes, it'll let us do potatoes for the pigs. We don't need to do maybe one small field every year, and our pigs will be happy. Another nice thing about this map is that you'll notice we're actually in the store. And if I was standing there, I would have been in the picture. There's my tip of the week, potato harvester for $8,500. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do decide to take on this challenge, good luck. Check out the next video in the series. It'll be about setting up our actual start farm that we're going to do now, and see how we're going to tackle the idea of having to go year by year with our supplies and our purchases, and then how we can keep the town alive without it going bankrupt within the first year. Anyway, take care everyone, and I'll see you next time.